Welcome to Unhinged Magi.
The craziness of boring games. Playing the same game over and over again is monotonous and nobody ever likes it. It's always going to be the same game no matter what we do, no matter what we play. We're going to put out the same pieces, going to roll the same dice, going to have the same cards. Boring.
Yeah, so, those poker games, I'm waiting for the new poker set to come out. I'm bored of those last 52 cards.
Just a number, just a king, a freaking queen. It's all the same garbage.
Yeah, if I had a nickel for every time I got a full house, oh, here we go, I got a full house again. This game is never going to last. No one's going to want to play this in the next, 6 months.
It's crappy.
Do you guys ever think about that? Because this is a topic that I just discussed with somebody who was a fan of the channel, recognized me out in public, and then, got a chance to say hey and stuff like that. And we were talking about stuff, and he said, well, don't you ever get bored of old school because those cards never rotate? You're always playing with the same cards. Isn't that boring? He was asking me about that. So we actually got into a discussion. And the examples that I was using is these.
Yep. They're the same exact 52 cards they've always been for a while. Some have Mickey Mouse on them. Some have Magic the Gathering cards on them.
Now, Dan, do people like playing with these cards still?
Hell yeah. Hell, I was playing with them this week. I was playing Omaha, though, not just, hold them.
But it's an interesting question. Before we give you kind of some food for thought to go over.
Like bacon. It's good.
Yeah. Think about bacon right now. Oh, ooh, bacon. Crunchy, salty bacon. Think about that. And while you're thinking about bacon, think about why is it that people actually keep playing with these same boring cards again and again, and they enjoy it. They travel to events. It's not even just about the money. People will actually just play games with just friends, come over and play gin rummy or something like that, or Old Maid or something like that. Crazy Eights. Why do people keep playing them? What is it about those that makes it still fun?
It's the excitement. It's fun. You get to think. You get to strategize.
Yep.
I try to figure out what my opponents have in their hand, what they're playables, what they're not playables, what they're comfortable betting.
Yep.
If I watch their hands, what are their hands doing when they're actually holding their chips? Are they talking in a different way or at a different volume or a different decibel? That usually gives out tells about what they're actually holding behind their hands.
Yep.
Because they get nervous. Some people actually shake their hands. Some people actually will clear their throat if they're bluffing. It's the weirdest thing. Some people will swallow and they have the best freaking hand ever.
You're actually good at watching for those tells?
If I can see a person for 6 straight hours, yes, you get the tells. And that's why it's good when you go to the same poker hall every single time. Because guess what? People's tells don't change. And that's why when you go to the same poker hall over and over again and you see the same people over and over again, you start making more money. You may lose money at the beginning, but as time goes on, you start making more money because you make better decisions based on what you've observed prior.
Well, just curious now, do you actually sometimes call people just so you can get to see their hands so you can learn what their tells were?
Yep.
That's interesting.
But I usually try to make sure it's in the low volume. If they go all in, it depends on how much money I've taken them from in the past. Because I like to give people money back on those kind of calls because then they'll play you again.
So
and you make more money.
So this actually it opens up the discussion really well for Magic because let me put this theory to you guys. Many of you have been sold the perception intentionally by Wizards of the Coast that the only way to keep the game fun is to constantly keep buying new cards, changing out your old cards with new cards, keeping it fresh, trying a new deck. You get in this thought paradigm, this thought box that you always need new fresh cards in order to actually have fun with the game. And I'm here to tell you that's one way to enjoy the game. That's not the only way. Because
what is the only way?
Well, there is no only one way. There's multiple things to enjoy about it.
There must be only one way.
No, Mr. Borg, there is not only one way.
Resistance is futile.
So the thing is, you guys, one reason, even right now, you probably, many of you watching probably played Tetris as a kid.
Or got
You can still play Tetris now these days as an adult, and it's still a fun game,
and
right?
Still drink.
What's that?
Nothing. Keep going.
Okay, he's off. You can still play Tetris as an adult, and it's still a fun game because the design of the game is what makes a game good or bad. It's the interaction between the pieces. It's the decision-making tree that you have to actually go through.
It's the fact that I keep losing over and over again because I'm not good with three-dimensional space.
Yeah. Or like, you know, the social interaction, like poker causes very interesting social interactions to happen during a game. And those are the things that keep you pulled into it.
People are required to actually look at you and study you when you play poker.
So I'll tell you one thing that does not make for a good game. Like if a format gets solved, like let's say Wizards of the Coast makes a format where like one or two decks is just totally dominant and kills everything else out there. Well, that gets ruined very fast because if you want to try, if what you're going for is like trying out new decks and new strategies and like everything loses to this one net deck, well, there's no fun in it. Because if you know there's no chance that you can win, well, then you either play that deck or you play or you just lose, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not fun at all. So I would say it is a requirement for any specific format of Magic to remain fun. It has to have a level of balance there, a level of multiple decks being possible to actually win the event, multiple strategies to be possible to win.
Not just a tic-tac-toe game.
Yep, it can't just be like, you know, Rochambeau, you know, like three main decks at the top, A beats B, B beats C, and C beats A. You can't do that. That will get boring really quick. But if there is like a plethora of decks that are viable for the top and the metagame can shift over one way or another, and then you can make meta calls, that is a format that can like be probably fun, honestly, for the rest of your life, if you really think about it. Now, any game, you take any game under the sun, if you play that game 10 hours a day, every single day of your life, doesn't matter how good a game is, you're probably going to get bored of any game that's like that after some amount of time. So
Except for poker.
Nobody should expect that any game is going to remain fun every moment of your life for the rest of your life. That's just not reasonable.
Especially Omaha. Everybody's in.
But
you got 4 cards, it's got to be good.
So a game like a format, I should say, like old school, I think it remains fun for all these years because the cards really are balanced. You know, you really
also,
can have...
the artwork is fantastic.
And the artwork is fantastic. And the game interaction, like the decision-making tree is pretty like deep. The metagame can shift. Like if everybody starts playing these highly powered decks with all these dual lands and moxes, and you just start main decking like Energy Flux and Blood Moon, you just wreck people's shop just because you play a Blood Moon. Like turn 3 Blood Moon, they lose. I've literally had that happen a lot of times because people just don't prepare for it, right?
Well, you got to be prepared for everything in Magic.
Yep, and that's
why
it.
Sideboard's stupid.
Yeah, sideboard has a good and a bad for sure.
No. It should be banned. That's what Wizards of the Coast should do. Ban sideboard. Freak everybody out. They would all go, what?
That would cause a pretty big metagame shift.
Oh, big time. That would be a huge metagame shift because most people can't even think outside the sideboard. Well, I got to put my disenchant just in case they have artifacts, but I'll put that in my sideboard so it doesn't actually have to touch my deck.
It would make a lot of cards that are very narrow but really strong in that narrow field. It would make them terrible cards.
Oh, yeah.
So many cards would just like not be played anymore, right?
They should do that. For 1 year, Wizards of the Coast ban the sideboard. That would be huge. That would make waves.
I don't know if I'm completely into this plan, but it would be interesting.
Dude, they don't care about old school. Just ban it for standard and modern. Oh, man. The conniption fits of all these people, oh, man, it'd be so good. But they'd be really playing Magic the Gathering. Because you have to build a deck that beats all decks. No sideboard. You have to build a deck to beat all decks. That's what it used to be. Sideboarding isn't a thing in Magic the Gathering. Anybody who says otherwise doesn't really read the manual from Beta, Alpha, and Unlimited. And that is the only rules that apply.
There is some decks that would become much stronger. Like you guys know I like to play Stasis decks in old school. And Stasis decks would gain a lot. If people didn't have access to a sideboard, a Stasis deck would be a lot better. Because normally, when you're playing Stasis, like your game 1 is like your biggest chance to get a win in. And then you really try hard to win games 2 and 3 because people bring in Red Elemental Blasts and Disenchants and Dust to Dust and like all of these hoser type spells, like Energy Fluxes. Yeah,
it's not a hoser spell. Your spell's the hoser spell. Screw that.
It take off, hoser. You're the hoser. But yeah, like it's really hard to win games 2 and 3 with a stasis deck because it's way too easy to sideboard against. So that would gain a lot of like benefit.
I'm telling you, man, fantasticness. Ban the sideboard. I want to see hashtag ban sideboard.
If you made it to this point in the video, put hashtag ban sideboard down in the comments just to make Dan happy.
There we go. Let's do this. I want to see that.
But seriously though, I want you guys to think about this. Like the formats that will remain eternal and the best formats to play are the ones that have the most diversity. And like the diversity of decks, like strategies and things like that. And old school is one of those best formats.
But they still haven't banned sideboard.
I could probably play it for the rest of my life and just have a great time, honestly, with all the different strategies and stuff out there.
You should probably eat in between games.
Yeah, okay. I am going to eat in between games. I don't know where this is going.
Well, you said you're going to do it for the rest of your life.
Okay, guys.
You need to at least eat.
Hashtag ban sideboards. I want to see it.
Hashtag ban sideboard. Come on, let's do this.
See you guys later.